The 54th Regiment of Foot was an infantry regiment of the British Army. Originally formed in 1755 at Salisbury as the 56th Regiment of Foot, it was renumbered as the 54th Regiment of Foot when the 50th Regiment and 51st Regiment were disbanded. The regiment was renamed as the 54th Regiment of Foot on the 31st of August 1782 when county association was introduced. As part of the Childers reforms, it was united with the 39th Regiment of Foot to form the Dorsetshire Regiment in 1881. Deployments. The 54th served at Gibraltar Station 1756 to 1765. America 1776 to 1781. Flanders 1794 to 1795. West Indies 1796. Egypt 1801. Gibraltar 1802 to 1805. Cape of Good Hope 1806. Buenos Aires and Amp Montevideo 1806 to 1807. Baltic 1813. France 1814 to 1815. Cape 1819. Burma and Amp, India 1824 to 1840, India 1857 to 1866 and Amp 1871 to 1886. South Africa 1900. Events. American Revolution. During the American Revolution, the 54th Regiment assaulted Fort Griswold in Groton, Connecticut on September 6, 1781 in the Battle of Groton Heights. The battle resulted in almost 80 American soldiers being massacred by the British after the American commander, Lieutenant Colonel William Ledyard, had surrendered. In May 1778, 100 men of the 54th Regiment of Foot embarked on boats to attack sawmills at Fall River, Massachusetts. The galley Piggott and some armed boats were to provide support. Piggott grounded, but the attack proceeded anyway. A sharp skirmish ensued when the troops arrived at their objective. Even so, they were able to destroy one sawmill and one grain mill, as well as a large stock of planks and boards, other buildings, some cedar boats, and so on. They then withdrew, having lost 2 men killed and 5 officers and men wounded. As the tide returned, Piggott was floated off, but as Flora towed her off, Flora lost 2 men killed and a lieutenant severely wounded. On deployment to India during the Indian Mutiny, about 350 men and 5 women of the headquarters 54 Regiment were aboard SS Sarah Sands, one of the earliest iron screw-type steamers, when fire broke out on the 11th of November 1857. The ship had been built in 1846 and had previously been chartered by the British government for the Crimean War and was again under charter, transporting troops and a large amount of powder and ammunition carried in 2 magazines. The ship was 1,000 miles from nearest land and outside shipping lanes, and if lost with all aboard would have been another mystery, though messages were placed in bottles that were never found. Some of the crew, which had been troublesome since sailing, abandoned ship in the 2 best boats, leaving the ship's officers, remaining crew and men of the regiment to fight the fire. The ladies were put in a boat with what provisions could be found, and Private William Wiles of the regiment and ship's quartermaster Richard Richmond risked their lives to save the regimental colours from below decks. The starboard magazine was cleared of explosives, but the port magazine was reached only through suffocating smoke, and volunteers led by Major Hughes cleared what they could, but 2 large barrels of powder could not be brought up to be thrown overboard. At about 9 in the evening the fire broke through the deck. set fire to rigging, and shortly after the expected explosion of the powder occurred, blowing out the after cabins, remnants of the saloon and ship's sports quarter, even causing the ship's stern to momentarily dip under water. Though rafts had been prepared, the remaining crew and troops continued to fight the fire through the night, cutting through the deck and using buckets to fight the fire that was beginning to turn the iron hull red hot. By 9 the next morning the fire was under control, but the ship's after portion was entirely burned out, with even glass in the ports melted, and flooded with loose water tanks smashing against the hull. Those in boats were recovered. The stern was strengthened with an arrangement of chain, and leaks stopped with sail and steering managed by a system of 6 men sitting on planks, rigged each side of the rudder, controlling it using ropes. Thus the ship made the nearly 1,000 miles to Mauritius, arriving on the 25th of November despite miseries endured with short rations of food and water. The regiment was sent to Calcutta in another vessel, and Sarah Sands was repaired enough to sail for Britain and full repair to sail for Bombay as a sailing ship, where she ran aground and was so badly damaged that she was abandoned. The iron construction, aided by 3 iron watertight bulkheads, one constantly kept cool by troops wetting it with water, saved the ship and probably all the lives, and later substantially helped remove prejudice against iron vessels. Battle honours. Battle honours won by the regiment were: Marabout, Egypt. Second Burmese War. Ava. Colonels of the regiment. Colonels of the regiment were: 56th Regiment of Foot 1755 to 1757 F. M. John Campbell, 5th Duke of Argyll. 54th Regiment of Foot 1757 to 1760 Gen. John Gray, 1760 to 1770 Gen. John Parslow, 1770 to 1801 Gen. Marisco Frederick, 54th Regiment of Foot 1801 to 1807 Gen. Sir David Baird, 1st Baronet GCB, KC 1807 to 1808 Gen. Oliver Nichols, 1808 to 1809 Gen. Hon Edward Finch, 1809 to 1816 Gen. James Ochona Forbes, 17th Baron Forbes, 1816 to 1841 Gen. Isaac Gascoigne, 1841 to 1845 LT Gen. Sir Henry Sheehy Keating, KCB, 1845 to 1850 Gen. Ulysses de Burgh, 2nd Baron Downes, GCB, 1850 to 1856 LT Gen. William Alexander Gordon, CB, 1856 to 1860 Gen. Sir William John Codrington, GCB, 1860 to 1868 Gen. Mild Mayfane, 1868 to 1876 Gen. Studholme John Hodgson, 1876 to 1877 Gen. David Elliot McCurdy, 1877 to 1880 Gen. Lord Mark Ralph George Kerr, GCB, 1880 to 1881 Gen. John Ramsay Stewart, CB. Bibliography.